Apple's newest operating system for the iPad has a lot of people talking, but I don't think it's the way that Apple intended. And that's due to two new iPadOS features, which I think almost certainly spell disaster for Apple. Hey, what is up everyone? My name is Mike. Welcome back to the channel. I'm glad that you are here because we are talking about iPads. Now, Apple's very close to releasing the latest version of their operating system for the iPad. And as always, there's a lot of hype around iPadOS 16. But this time around, things are just a little bit different. People are not thrilled with the new update, and I will tell you why. Now, we have to acknowledge that this is not an Apple-only problem, and we also need to look inward because you and I played a role here. That's because Apple repeatedly would release a new iPad with a new processor that was more powerful than the previous, and it's more powerful than any other iPad could ever even need, including iPadOS. Now, we continue to vote with our pocketbook, telling Apple that we love this tablet and made it the best-selling tablet in the world. It's like we're a glutton for punishment. The iPad's greatest strength is its power of conformability. No matter which iPad model you own, I'm sure that you would agree that the large single pane of glass enables the device to transform into almost anything, allowing you to interact with your content on such a large screen at a level and to a degree that is not previously known before the iPad came into existence. All you need to do is add the right app, maybe even the right accessory, to enhance your experience. Do you want to draw, sketch, or illustrate? Well, attach your Apple Pencil and your creation takes shape before your very eyes. Need to send a quick email during downtime? Well, just attach your keyboard and start typing with almost zero effort required. Want to unwind a bit with a movie or some music? Remove your iPad from the keyboard with a quick hand swipe, leaving you ready for movie time. Just lean back and enjoy. But by and large, these are relatively straightforward use cases, and we have really come to expect more from the iPad. Now let's recall that the iPad itself came out in 2010, making it 12 years old as of this video. The Apple Pencil, the iPad Pro were both released in 2015, meaning that we've lived in a time where the Apple Pencil and the iPad Pro have both existed longer than they haven't existed, and that iPadOS was forked from iPadOS back in 2019, or iPadOS 13, making this the third year under its own branch. Now, the iPad lives in this kind of weird duality where the device is both highly capable from a hardware perspective while simultaneously being limited from a software perspective. And frankly speaking, if the iPad's greatest contribution to computing is the addition of the Apple Pencil and the keyboard, the product has a ton of untapped potential. And Apple knows this. Ever since Apple released the very first beta of iPadOS 16 in June, it's been apparent that the annual software update that we expected to help bridge a gap between our iPad and our Mac would fall short of expectations and wouldn't be the end-all be-all solution that enthusiasts like you and I were hoping for. Now, because just moments after WWDC was finished, iPadOS 16 had Apple on the defense. The most significant change coming to iPadOS 16 is the availability of Stage Manager and external display support, which offers a new multitasking paradigm in addition to the existing multitasking modes that work today: split screen, slide over, full screen, and center screen. When the features were announced, Apple stated that both Stage Manager and external display support would only be available on iPads with an M1 chipset, meaning that you needed to own one of three devices to run this feature: the 5th generation 11-inch iPad Air 5 that came out in 2020, the 3rd generation 11-inch iPad Pro, and the 5th generation 12.9-inch iPad Pro. Apple's Senior Vice President of Software Engineering, Craig Federighi, stated that the limitation for Stage Manager and external display support was due to the experience that they were trying to manage. The directness of interaction in that every app can respond to every touch instantaneously if you were touching the real thing underneath your screen, and that older iPads were just not capable of hitting the performance targets that they wanted to, thus jeopardizing the user experience. Many iPad users felt that the reasoning that Apple provided was really nothing more than just marketing bullshit so that Apple could sell more iPads, and were unsatisfied with the answer. And with that, the public continued to pressure Apple into bringing Stage Manager to older devices. Well, fast forward to just this week, Apple made two significant decisions relating to Stage Manager and external display support. First, Stage Manager and external display support were decoupled, making them two independent features when previously they were grouped as one. Second, Apple allowed devices that were non-M1 enabled, including the 2018, the 2020 11-inch iPad Pro, and the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, to run Stage Manager, but the limitation is that that feature had to run locally on the device, and they were not eligible to run external display support. While this might seem like a small win since Apple reversed course in which iPads could run Stage Manager, the consequence is that Apple also yanked out external display support from the latest beta, without providing a launch date when it was going to come out, and they also limited the feature to devices with the M1 chipset. Now, all this makes me think that iPadOS 16 and the iPad are between a rock and a hard place, leaving Apple in an unfavorable position to make a decision. Do they allow the iPad to evolve into a fledgling computer and kind of follow a path that's similar to the Mac, or does the iPad retain its limited functionality while being relegated as a companion device for all of eternity? It's not unreasonable to conclude that Stage Manager and external display support are obviously tentpole features based on the amount of airtime during WWDC that was dedicated to talking about these two features, and to the degree that Apple tried to manage expectations when iPadOS 16 first beta hit. Now, the reason why the features are so important haven't become clear to you or I because iPadOS 16 isn't out, neither is macOS Ventura. Now, Apple's operating from a position where it has answers to very fundamental questions. Why is Stage Manager such an essential paradigm that they think it needs to be brought to both the Mac and the iPad? And why is the feature being implemented in the way that it is? Now, these questions also include how Stage Manager and external display support will operate on not just these devices, but devices that are still in the pipeline and have yet to come out, which I'm talking about the M2 iPad Pro, which is expected to come out this month. So in my mind, we're asking the wrong question. Instead of asking, why can't my iPad Pro run external display support? We should flip the question around and ask, why is the M1 architecture so important to the future of the iPad and iPadOS? Because while Stage Manager might be the future of multitasking on the iPad, I believe that Apple has drawn a line in the sand and that the future of iPadOS and the apps that were part of it will require the new M1 architecture or later, because the gap in performance is only going to get more apparent as we move forward with these new devices. Hey guys, thank you very much for watching my video on iPadOS 16 external display support and Stage Manager. I want to know how you feel about Stage Manager. Are you excited about the feature? Is it coming to your iPad? Do you wish it was coming to your iPad? Let me know down in the comments below. I hope you are subscribed because I have more content coming from you related to the iPad, iPadOS 16. I am Mike, and I will talk to you in the next one.